We've all found ourselves longing for friendships, people to hang out with, people to FaceTime, people to go to concerts with, stay over with, people who make us feel like we belong, like we're accepted, people who just make us feel like we're normal. That was me 4 years ago. Thrusted into a big city, I'd finally started to study the degree that I dreamed of. I had all the academic achievements, but absolutely lacking in the social life department. I'm talking never had a birthday party because I didn't know who to invite, never had a sleepover. If you asked me who my best friend was, I'd probably say my mum, which is kind of still true to this day. I was the girl who was looking at everyone else's social life and thinking, what am I doing wrong? It was only when I got older that I realised I was longing for the wrong things. I thought friendships would be the answer to my loneliness, but actually, it was something else. Hey, if you're new, I'm Christina and I make videos for people who are feeling lonely. If you're a people pleaser, overthinker, overachiever, over anythinger, you're in the right place. This video started in the shower, like a lot of my videos do. I was in the shower and I was thinking, sometimes we aren't looking for friends, we're looking for validation. We think that we want friends, we think that we want people to hang out with, people to spend time with, people who we click with, but actually, are those all just little forms of validation? Not validation in a bad way, like, you know, you're attention seeking or you're insecure or you're just like really needy. Not validation in that way. More so validation like someone enjoys your company. More so validation like someone was thinking of you so they texted you. Or validation in the sense that you're funny and you're interesting, people want to talk to you. Validation in the sense that you're really entertaining and you're really cool to be around. We want you at this party. Validation in an attention way, like, come be in this photo. We want to post it on Be Real. We want to post it on Instagram. Sometimes you aren't looking for friends, you're looking for validation. In a hyper-visual world, sometimes I think our need and our desire for a friendship isn't actually always like the innate reason that friendships exist. Sometimes it's more in a superficial way, in a way that we see everyone else have this thing that we don't have, so we naturally want it for those visual reasons. I'm going to start off with the desire for validation. When I was in high school, I was the only black girl in my school. Out of 600 students, it was literally just me. It was a rough time, I'm not gonna lie. There are 1,000,001 things that I could say about that experience. I have made a video on this. It's giving old Christina energy, but I'll link it here if you want to watch that video. The main takeaway and the things that have stuck with me to this day that I still actually struggle with is just the fact that, like, I didn't feel like I belonged. I didn't feel like I connected with anyone. I didn't feel like I was normal. I didn't feel like I was funny or interesting or desirable in a platonic way and a romantic way. I just felt so like weird and like outcast and like I didn't belong and fit in. It was one thing to like not have any friends, but then to not have any friends and feel like you do not belong here, you are weird, you are strange, you look funny, like we're gonna touch your hair without your permission. Like it was just like alienating and strange. And you don't necessarily have to have had a similar experience to like relate to what I'm saying. I'm sure so many of you guys have had different experiences where you feel like not only are you lonely, but like you just do not belong, you don't fit in, and it's such like an emotional experience. Like no one ever talks about this, but like it can stick with you for years to come. That experience in high school, literally 10 years ago, but I still struggle with sometimes like feelings of belonging and feeling left out, and it being like a little bit triggering. Sometimes I feel like when it comes to friends, validation, you can tell what you're looking for in the way that maybe you change yourself. You can change your appearance and your hair and your outfits, maybe to try and get friends or get people to like you, but is it actually to get people to like you? Or is it like for validation? Because people that do like you for you, maybe they're not in your town, in your school, in your workplace. Maybe they're not around you, people that are genuinely like going to be your friend. But if you change yourself, you might get the validation you're looking for, but are those genuine friends? Sometimes you might be put in a position where you feel like you have no choice. You just feel so lonely and alone that you just feel like, let me just try something. Let me try to change myself. Let me try and speak in a different way and act cool and say the right things to get people to like you. But I feel like it just goes to show that sometimes when we're in that vulnerable position of being so lonely, we actually slip a little bit when we don't even realize, and we stop looking for genuine friends and we start looking for validation. Another reason I feel like you might have friends but it's not your fault is because you only engage in surface level interactions. I feel like sometimes it's not the fault of your own. It's just so easy to have like small talk with people and click with people on like a very surface level, but it's difficult to like go beneath the surface and talk about the deep stuff that you want to talk about. Like how many times have we seen that post on social media that's like, when you first get to know me, I'm super shy and awkward, but once you get to know me, I'm like crazy, and I will not shut up. I feel like so many of us are like that. Sometimes when you're super lonely and you have no one to talk to, you don't have that close group of friends, you have no choice but to just only talk to people on a surface level. You never go beneath the surface, because who are you going to go beneath the surface with? I know for me, I can do this really, really well. I can speak to lots of different people on a surface level. Currently, even though I have a lot more friends and I feel more comfortable in my social situation, I still do that surface level thing. Like, it never goes away. I think it's a good skill to have. It becomes a problem when it's the only thing that you do. Like, you never go beneath the surface, you never go deep. But one thing that I did do that I think was a problem was when I was keeping things like surface level, like super light, I would pretend that I was opening up. Like, I have a really weird thing where I can speak to you in a way that it sounds like I'm opening up, but really I'm not. And I'm gonna insert this clip. It's such a good podcast. Please listen to the whole thing. She spoke about people who are feeling lonely and are afraid to open up.
So many people want to be seen, like genuinely seen for who they are. I think it's a really basic human need. But they're not showing up, and they're not showing people who they are, and you're just not going to get it. It is not the other person's job to figure out who you are secretly by reading into texts or your behaviors. You're not entitled to other people understanding you. It is a very vulnerable thing to be seen, and most people want it. And then when it comes to actually doing it, they realize how scary it is, and then they don't do it, and then they're not seen, and then their sense of self is questioned. So I think vulnerability plays a really huge part in this. It's like, you have to show up.
Give me a real life example.
So I have a client who, she's like, no one sees me. I feel like I'm invisible at work. People walk past me at bars. No one approaches me, whatever. But what I see of you, and I see you, once a week, you're amazing. You're hilarious. You like have such a big personality. You're a great storyteller. Like, it makes no sense to me that no one would see you. Like, why am I seeing something that other people are not seeing? And then I went, well, do you show them this part of yourself? Like, do you actually express your opinions, your thoughts? Do you make the jokes? Do you sit with the same posture? And the answer was no. And so I think it was like this realization of like, I want people to see me, but I don't want to be vulnerable enough to actually have to show them. So I think I'm funny, and I'll do it in like the privacy of my own home or in a therapy session, but I won't show others, because what if they don't like the joke? What if they're offended? And what if they reject me?
Another reason why you have no friends, but it's not your fault, is because you have approval-seeking behavior. I didn't think I needed approval, quote unquote. I just thought I needed friends. Like, no, I'm not trying to be different. I'm not trying to be someone that I'm not. I'm not trying to be trendy. I'm not trying to be cool. I'm not trying to be anything. I just want to be myself. That's what I thought. What we say and what we do can sometimes be a little bit misaligned. They can be in the same ballpark, but they're definitely not on the same. They're not on the same lines. I used to think like, oh, approval is things like asking for compliments, asking if I'm doing the right thing, asking if what I'm doing is wrong. But changing who you are in every group, being a little bit different, showing a different part of your personality, like the clip I inserted of that podcast, I feel like you have to be vulnerable first before other people accept the vulnerable part of you. We all want to be accepted. We all want to feel normal. Like I was saying in the intro, we all want to feel like we belong, but to actually become and have that sense of belonging, you have to show up first, and you have to do all the things like share the different parts of you that you feel like you don't know what they're going to say. Like, you don't know if they'll accept you or not, but you have to go first. If anyone's like me and you've had like an era of your life where you feel like you lost your identity a little bit, you didn't know who you were, you didn't know what your personality was, what you say, what you like how did I even get here? This TikTok that I found makes a lot of sense.
Hi baby. A lot of trauma survivors will report to not knowing who they are or lacking a solid sense of self, and there's a good reason for that. Sometimes after trauma, the brain learns to shut down and detach from emotions and feelings like terror or pain. But in everyday life, the brain areas that are responsible for feelings and sensations like terror are also responsible for forming the foundation of our self-awareness, our sense of self. So for trauma survivors, in an effort to shut off scary feelings, they are also sadly shutting down their capacity to feel fully alive. So in order to gain self-awareness or regain a sense of self, you must also be open to experiencing and welcoming the full spectrum of emotions.
I don't know if anyone anyone's like me, where if you also kind of lost your identity a little bit, and you found that anytime you just watched a new TV show or watched a movie, you would like adopt their sense of self onto yours. Like you'd copy their personality traits, copy what they say, like their demeanor, their mannerisms, like how they act, what they wear, like their style. I did that so much growing up, and sometimes I catch myself doing it now. Like it's okay to get inspiration, that's okay, but like straight up copying and saving every outfit that she has, and like I'm like screenshotting everything. Like develop your sense of self, like stop copying everyone else. This is why you feel so lost sometimes, Christina. Like you're just so quick to copy other people and adopt their personality, adopt their outfits, their style. Like think of what you like first of all. Like for me, what I've realized as I've come to kind of build my social skills a lot more and become more confident is that you can reveal all parts of yourself to everyone. All it takes is just a bit of confidence, and sometimes that's what you don't have when you don't have friends. Like you don't have the confidence to open up or to be yourself. You want to share that you like all the different types of music and rap and Hamilton and 80s, but it's like you're not confident. You don't have friends to build the confidence in you. Like the woman in the podcast was saying, you need to go first. You need to show up and be vulnerable first, and then everyone will follow. Sometimes people will accept you when you're vulnerable and when you share the different parts of yourself, and if they don't, honestly, it's a win-win. If someone doesn't like you, better that they tell you sooner rather than later and they make themselves known so that you can avoid them. Fear of rejection. If your biggest fear is like going up to a new group of people and saying hi, and they kind of like look at you weird, or they say like, who is she? Then you might have a fear of rejection. Now, I think it's super important to know what some of your fears are, and if you do have a fear of rejection, a fear of judgment, it's so important to know that, because it will influence your actions and you won't even realize. Like, I have a fear of rejection and a fear of judgment. I worry too much about what I'll be judged by and what people will say. It influences how I meet new people and say hi to people. Like, if I'm scared of being judged, like sometimes I'll stop myself from going to say hi to like a group of girls or someone who stood by themselves. Like, I find myself like in my head so much anticipating what could go wrong and what could go right, and I base my decisions off of just overthinking rather than just actually like doing it and seeing what happens. Doing it and seeing what happens is the key to getting to where you want. I promise you. Like, do not overthink things. Easier said than done. That's terrible advice. Do not overthink things. It's easy to overthink things, but just doing things, seeing what happens is literally how I've gotten to some of the biggest successes in my life. Doing it and seeing what happens is how I built my TikTok. Doing it and seeing what happens is how I started to make this sort of style of video. I literally was just messing about with editing, and then one of them took off. Doing it and seeing what happens is how I started to make some of the friends that I have now. I sat next to a new person like a few years ago in like one of my classes, and me and this person clicked, and now we're really good friends now. It's a skill that you build slowly over time. You're not going to get rid of overthinking like that, but one thing that can help is one of my videos I've made where I was talking about the fact that you're probably not an overthinker, you're just a control freak, but we all have a little bit of control freak in us, so it's not all that bad. Something I wrote in my notes is that sometimes a fear of rejection will lead you to prioritize surface level validation over genuine friendship. For example, if you're hiding your opinions, or if someone disagrees with you and then you automatically agree with them that they disagree with you. Like, you know when you are like saying to someone like, oh my gosh, that blanket's like a nice cream pink colour, and they're like, no, I would say it's more white, and then you're like, oh yeah, it is white, yeah. That is classic approval seeking behaviour. When someone disagrees with you but then you just agree with them. Like, I used to do this so much. Another reason why you might have no friends but it's not your fault is because you don't know who you are. We have touched on this a little bit with like the loss of identity and not knowing who you are, and how it's related to trauma, and like it's kind of a coping mechanism. This was literally me for the longest time, and I've only started to slowly kind of figure out who I am and like what I actually stand for. Like deep down, who is Christina? Like, take away the social media, take away the videos, take away what I do for work, take away what I wear, like who actually am I and what do I stand for? The only way that I've actually started to evolve that a little bit more is having a bit of a dopamine detox. I know it's going to sound so crazy, but during the week, Monday to Friday, I do not listen to music, I do not listen to podcasts, I do not watch YouTube videos. I save all of that for the weekend, which I know sounds weird, but in the weirdest way, I started to really declutter my thoughts, I'm gonna call it, and I've really started to I feel like become more relaxed and more like calm and chill. I feel like this is another huge problem, like losing your identity and not knowing who you are. If you're someone that consumes a lot of self-help and self-improvement, because it's easy to consume this content, it's so widely available, it's so easy to watch and to consume, but it just makes you forget that like you can think for yourself. Like it's good to get other people's advice, it's good to copy, success leaves clues. it's good to learn from other people, but you also are successful in some ways that you just might be ignoring. You also have advice, and you can also just like intuitively like trust your gut instinct. You don't have to watch a video on how to be confident, how to like all these things that we watch videos for. I feel like sometimes you actually just have it in yourself. Like, you have it within you. Slightly unrelated, but very, very related at the same time. Someone posted this on Twitter where they said, there's one thing that I struggle with, it's opening up to people. I'm sorry if I don't open up about things that I'm dealing with physically and mentally. It may take years for me to open up to friends. Someone else said, my therapist made me realize that I don't open up to my friends because I don't think that they can cope with my problems. I'm scared they would add my problems onto theirs. This is such a common thing that so many of us go through, like hiding how we feel and not being too sure on how to open up to friends, being scared to open up to friends, not knowing how to open up to friends, pretending like we're opening up to friends and pretending like we've shared a lot when really we haven't. It's just such a common thing. And my last reason in this video why maybe you're looking for friends, but maybe you're just looking for validation, is that the gag is no one can give you the validation that you're looking for. After meeting reams and reams of people, and I mean reams and reams, as a student, like doctor, like medical student, I'm literally meeting dozens of new people every day in just the form of patients. I feel like I've met a lot of people from the work that I do, and to some extent online with all the comments and DMs that I get, and in real life with my friends. I've realised that if you keep kind of like searching for friends or like searching for validation, you might be lonely for a very long time. Friendships genuinely come when you're least expecting it. Like the cliche advice that we all hear but hate to hear, that like stop looking for it and it'll show up, but it really, really does. You can go looking for friends. I definitely went looking for friends and did find them, but you have to open up. You have to share things that you didn't expect. My example was back in the day when I was in med school. I failed one of my exams super badly and I was literally heartbroken. Like, I was so distraught. And what I did, because I was making content at the time, posted a video about it, literally crying in the video. And that opening up and sharing how like upset I was, that was actually how another girl who also failed messaged me in my year, and she was like, oh my god, like we need to go for coffee, I feel the exact same, I didn't realize like you also felt the same, like no one ever talks about this. And we went for coffee and we're good friends. You can go looking for friends, and I actually do encourage you to do it. Don't leave it up to chance. Don't be like, I'm not going to look for friendships, like it'll just find me, because it can and it will, but sometimes it's better to have things like in your control a little bit. Another common thing I feel like people that resonate with anything that I've said in this video might also experience is just the feeling that you ask people about them, but they never ask about you. This is something that I've made an entire video on, so I'd love to know what you think about that video. That is enough from me. I'll speak to you in the next one. Bye.